interest. You order groceries on your phone, don't you? You order milk, vegetables, fruits, snacks, you name it. You expect the application to tell you one very basic thing. This is food and this is safe to eat. But what if a highly toxic plant suddenly appears in that same food ecosystem? And that is exactly what has happened in Karnataka. The State Food Safety Department has suspended the food licenses and registrations of Amazon, Swiggy, Instamart, and Big Basket after Datura fruits, a toxic fruit, and its seeds were found listed and sold through these platforms. And the question, the obvious one is, how did Datura end up in the food supply chain in the first place? Was there nobody checking this? Datura is not some exotic new substance. It's a plant. It's also known as thorn apple, mad apple, devil's trumpet, lot of names out there. It has cultural and religious uses in India, more religious. But it is poisonous if it is consumed. Its seeds, the fruits, the leaves, the flowers, and the roots contain toxic compounds including atropine, which could be detrimental and fatal. Depending on the amount that is consumed, poisoning can cause a dry mouth, it can cause blurred vision, rapid heartbeat, confusion, agitation, hallucinations as well. And in severe cases, it can lead to seizures, dangerous heart rhythms, loss of consciousness, and breathing problems. So this is not a case of an unusual vegetable accidentally being delivered. No, this is a product that should never have been presented as food for human consumption in the first place. Why was it listed in that section? Well, beats me. And that's where the story gets particularly disturbing. Food safety officials found Datura being stored and sold through these platforms under FSSAI registration or license numbers. Whether those were real or fake, well, investigation is still underway. The Karnataka regulator has now ordered all three of these platforms in question to immediately remove Datura listings and advertisements, stop selling or distributing it as food, and submit compliance reports right at the outset. The department has also ordered action against manufacturers, the suppliers, the sellers that are involved in the chain. When the platforms were checked after the crackdown, Datura was no longer visible on Amazon Fresh or the Swiggy Instamart. Big Basket, however, showed a Datura listing for puja, but that was in the sold out category. One piece priced at just rupees 14. And there is another extraordinary detail here. The issue reportedly came to wider attention after a Bengaluru user posted a video claiming that Datura had been included as a freebie with a Swiggy Instamart order. Now, there are legitimate non-food uses for Datura. That is not the issue. Nobody is debating that. The issue is how it was being categorized, listed, handled, and presented to the consumer, sometimes as a freebie as well. Because when you open an instant delivery app, you are not expected to know which plant is poisonous, which is. You are relying on the platform and the regulatory system behind it to make that distinction for you, and that raises some very uncomfortable questions. Are e-commerce platforms exercising enough control over third-party sellers? Can an application simply say, the seller listed it, it wasn't us, not our problem, it's the seller's problem? What kind of product verification happens before something enters the grocery catalog? And if a dangerous product reaches a consumer's home, where does the responsibility ultimately lie? Tonight, we're going to look at the Datura episode, but also at the much bigger question it exposes. Who is checking what you are being allowed to buy? Let's open the debate up with our experts. We've got a public health and a food safety expert, Urvashi Agarwal, food safety educator, and Urvashi Prasad, public health and policy advisor. Many thanks to both the Urvashis. Urvashi, Prasad, ma'am, if I could begin with you first and foremost, what's your take on this entire thing? We've seen across the table food safety, violations. We've seen food safety crackdowns. We've seen so many of those. Urvashi Agarwal has been with us decoding all of this right from the outset. But Datura coming to your doorstep and then somebody consuming it and then falling sick as well. There is a case of an elderly lady who consumed the seeds as well.
Yeah, absolutely, Kabir. And, the fact is that it carried even an FSSAI license number. Now,
Appalling.
Of course, whether real or fake. But, this is a mark that a shopper trusts. A shopper with no expertise will trust this mark. And it was stamped onto a toxin, basically. So I think that just makes this whole story so very shocking. And of course, like you said, this is not just about Datura. These platforms have millions of SKUs, and who is
Yeah.
really looking at what is being approved, what is getting a license. And I think, the reality is that we can't say for the marketplaces that they can have no accountability in this and that they only host third party sellers, because after all, these platforms are warehousing these packets, they are carrying the listings, they've taken the orders, they've displayed a food number against them. So I don't think storing and fulfilling a product can be, a license to say, well, I have no responsibility for this. And we've actually seen such action also been taken by Maharashtra's FDA just a few days or weeks back,
Yeah.
and now we are seeing this in Karnataka. But frankly, this state by state action is, it's suboptimal, and I think we really need a coordinated FSSAI led national response, because clearly this is happening across the country, and this might be happening with millions of SKUs that we don't even know about.
Urvashi Agarwal, how does a known toxic plant like Datura, we know people use it for their pujas, for their religious and cultural activities. It has a lot of religious symbolism also in the Hindu mythology. But how does a known toxic plant like Datura get listed in the food product in the first place? Where did the safety chain break? Was this an algorithmic glitch, or was it because of the fact that nobody really cares anymore about this?
Well, I am exasperated, and like we've discussed so many topics in the past, how did it come? How was it added to the platform? I mean,
Yeah.
it beats me. How can it be added as a food and it has FSSAI license? I mean, to
It comes for
answer your
free also, by the
question-
way. In some cases, it comes as a freebie.
Exactly, and just sold at 14 rupees. Imagine a person. What can a person do with it?
Yeah, I mean, if
Right?
somebody was about to
And,
poison
the
themselves, at least
platform-
price it for 500 rupees, no?
No, even if it is at price, then why? Why is it available? Why is
Yeah,
it
yeah,
listed?
yeah.
Is the first question.
Yes.
And to answer the second one, do they care? They don't care. They don't care. They're driven by profits. It's very clear now. We are talking about Datura today. There's look at different state food safety reports. Just in Telangana, 29 dark stores were raided, Kabir, and so much of food safety issues were, brought to the front. Even in Maharashtra, 86
Yeah.
online e-commerce, portals, and 60 were served improvement notices. That is whopping 70%. Why are they doing it in the first place? And let me tell you, all these restaurants and eateries and platforms, when they come cribbing and say that, oh, surprise inspections are conducted. Hello, food safety laws are no surprise for you. Inspection could be a surprise, but you're supposed to follow the food safety rules
Yeah.
and regulations in the first place. Why are you not doing it? So why does it come to you as a surprise?
That's the
Right?
standard that we've set for ourselves. The benchmark is so low that when an inspection happens, we call it surprise inspection.
Exactly,
Because it doesn't
that's
really
my
happen.
point. Exactly. Like, why? You should be in and out every day. You should be following rules and regulations. Food safety laws are not a surprise for you. So they don't care. And yes, like Urvashi ji said, we need a total paradigm shift. The entire system needs to be changed. Because
Yeah.
everywhere we see, we have food safety violations everywhere.
One thing is, Urvashi Prasad, ma'am, you see, I think you spoke about trust right at the beginning. Several layers that we need to decode here. One thing to look at is the fact that because we want instant gratification, we want everything on our applications, we want it quick, we want it fast. They've been advertising it also that, it comes to you in minutes, be it, Flipkart, be it Blinkit, be it, Big Basket, all those names. Let's not single any one thing out. The fact is that maybe regulation is not keeping pace with the amount of these portals and these dark stores that are coming up everywhere. That's number one. But when we talk about the trust aspect that you very rightly, threw some light on right at the beginning, when a consumer orders groceries from a major e-tailer, what level of safety assurance should they reasonably be entitled to accept? Because that's a gray area, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think, Kabir, at least an FSSAI license, at least an FSSAI mark, I should be able to trust on something. And this is not even food grade, this is, forget the quality. This is something that a human should not even be having. And Big Basket, in response to this said, well, we've put a sticker on it and not for human consumption. Now, my point is, if a child or anybody in the household who doesn't actually read that sticker
Yeah.
gets their hand on it, I mean, you can have somebody in the ICU, you can have someone dead. And of course, Amazon chose not to respond at all. So I think the point is that, a customer getting any such product, they have to be able to trust the regulator, and they have to be able to trust at least that mark, that license, which is, on that product, if nothing else. And of course, I think, to your point about these platforms and how we all want to, get things quickly from them, I think, creating awareness amongst people, which is now, I see a lot of these conversations happening, like you are doing them. And I think what is happening in Maharashtra is really helping that cause, that at
Yeah.
least we are talking about this issue, which has been so invisible, really, I would say, in our public discourse. We need to make people aware that, just because you're getting something in 5 minutes or 10 minutes, it's not acceptable. It could actually harm you, it could kill you. And so you better start asking questions. It doesn't matter which platform or where you're getting something from, but you have to question. At the same time, I think for our regulators, we have to be able to trust them. If we
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
trust an FSSAI license, then, what is the point of having a regulator?
What beats me is the fact that this came for free as well. Urvashi Agarwal, in one of those cases, it came for free. But is the problem that this was categorized as food? Had it been in the puja section or, the other deliverable sections, would it be okay by your standard?
Nope, not at all. And absolutely not. I mean, something which is as dangerous as Datura, why should it be listed on a platform where anyone can buy it? And while it is listed for puja, like Urvashi said, sticker was put, right? Not for human consumption. It's not going to deter anyone, right? You can't say who is going to purchase it and what use will it be put for. So it's absolutely unacceptable, and it's such a serious food safety violation. That's why the authorities cancel the licenses. It is that serious. So I agree, it should not have been listed in the first place.
Yeah, yeah. Urvashi Prasad, can companies now here come and say that we're only the marketplace, we're the aggregator, the third party is the seller, they're responsible, it's their product, it's not our problem anymore. Try to wriggle themselves out of a legal conundrum here, because that is very well a possibility that could happen.
Yeah, I think they would, definitely try to do this. I think it's been happening across platforms where, they say, well, we're just aggregators or we're just listing products. But like I said right up front, that, if you are the one who is actually involved in right from, warehousing these products to listing them to taking the orders, you cannot just say that, we have nothing to do, and you're also gaining from this whole ecosystem, right? So it can't work that way only, that, we're going to benefit from this whole marketplace that, we've got in, in the country now. But we're not going to adhere to any kind of accountability, any kind of responsibility. And this is not a small issue, right, Kabir? It's not like, okay, this size didn't fit me, so I'll just return it, I'll exchange it. I mean, at least for something like food, for medicine, for things that can actually take someone's life, you have to take accountability. And I think you just can't get away by saying that, no, this is the responsibility of someone else. You should not be listing such a product on your platform altogether.
Just a quick follow-up. The regulator has suspended the platforms' food licenses or is mulling to. We still don't have clarity on that particular front, but there is an order that was put out by the Karnataka department. Do you think that action is proportionate, or should there be even stronger penalties when a potentially dangerous product reaches the consumers? Do you think it was okay for these licenses to get suspended?
Yeah, I mean, I would say firstly, we need to know who's verified these license numbers. I think that's a very, very important point. Where has
Fair
the
enough.
lapse happened? Is there, there should be, I think, a criminal liability if you're selling a poison basically as food. And I don't think that actually a temporary suspension is adequate, because you can lift it once a compliance report is filed. So I actually think there has to be something far more exemplary in terms of action for basically listing a poison as food. Like I said, it's not a simple thing that has just happened.
I was going through and sort of gathering my own data set, and I was speaking on the phone with a stringer in Bengaluru who told me about a case where the Datura landed up in the same way at somebody's doorstep, and the seeds were consumed by the elderly in the house. They were quickly rushed to hospital to safety as well. But even after a couple of months, they're still going through, and suffering from some heart ailments and some cardiac issues. So the problem is all too real. Before I wrap up this segment, Urvashi Agarwal, beyond Datura, because this is your area of expertise, what other categories of products should regulators be worried about as quick commerce platforms they continue to expand? And I'm again saying the regulation is clearly not keeping pace. Of course, we need to meet each other halfway, but somebody has to do the extra work because somebody has to extend that olive branch in the first place. How do we prevent the next dangerous listing? Can you cite some other examples? Maybe, you have skincare in eating items. You can have those kind of glitches on e-commerce platforms.
Absolutely. Like cigarettes, for example, you don't know who are buying those cigarettes, alcohol, medicines, right? These are the glaring examples that I can give. And I think a couple of years ago, there was a conversation that alcohol is going to be available on these quick commerce platforms, and quickly this idea was curbed, and I'm very happy that happened, because see, all these categories, while you say, even if you say that we are going to sell these only to 18 years and above or 21 years and above, you don't know.
Who's
Right?
keeping that check? Who's keeping that check?
Exactly. Who is keeping that check? These platforms are, see, the end goal of all of these platforms is profit. So
Yeah.
to earn money, they're going to do anything. So these are the categories which are glaring ones. And I mean, the authorities need to really, really put all the checks in place and put hefty fines and set an example,
Certainly.
so that these incidences, they don't, reoccur.
Well, what I can say right now is that this was a near miss. Just like Urvashi Prasad said, we need an exemplary, precedent in place over here. We need, some major punitive measure so that this really becomes an example. And we need to be able to trust our FSSAI. A little work needs to be done from our side, but a lot of work needs to be done from the other side over there as well. A customer should never have to wonder whether the food arriving at their doorstep through these e-commerce could poison them. And Datura may have traditional uses. We're not denying that at any point, but it is not food, and its presence on major delivery platforms as food raises serious questions about seller verification, platform accountability, and regulatory oversight. Many thanks to both the Urvashis on the platform, Urvashi Agarwal and Urvashi Prasad. Many thanks, ma'am. Many thanks, Urvashi, for taking out the time and speaking to us here on In Your Interest. Before we wrap this up, as we come to the end of tonight's In Your Interest, we leave you with a story that could have consequences far beyond the diplomatic rooms of Beijing. Because when Ajit Doval, the National Security Advisor, sat across the table from Wang Yi, this is not simply another diplomatic meeting, by the way. It's about the border, it's about the stability, and ultimately, it is about what kind of relationship India wants with China and on what terms exactly as well. We are engaging with the dragon, but we're not dropping our guard. India's National Security Advisor, Ajit Doval, held the 25th round of special representatives' talks with Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi in Beijing. The mechanism dates back to 2003 and is the principal diplomatic channel for addressing the India-China boundary question, a dispute covering a border of roughly 3,500 kilometers. And before meeting Wang Yi, Doval also met Chinese Vice President Han Zheng. The message from both sides was broadly about maintaining peace and tranquility along the border and improving bilateral relations. But here's the important bit. improved relations cannot simply mean improved trade or more meetings. For India, the foundation has to be peace and stability along the LAC. And that is particularly important because the relationship was dramatically damaged after the 2020 Galwan clash and the prolonged military standoff in eastern Ladakh. There has since been a cautious effort to stabilize the relationship. Not much, but at least you have the mechanism in place. But it remains an important channel, and that's again the significant aspect. Keeping communication open and managing differences is equally important. And the timing of this meeting is critical because in just a few weeks, India is expected to host the BRICS summit in New Delhi on the 12th and 13th of September, with Chinese President Xi Jinping expected to attend. And that creates the possibility of another Modi-Xi interaction and potentially another opportunity to take the relationship forward. So a lot of that is already on the cards. Meetings have already taken place. India has to enter this phase with its eyes wide open, without dropping the guard, but engaging the dragon. There is nothing wrong with dialogue, mind you. In fact, dialogue is essential when two major powers share a contested border and have enormous economic and strategic interests. But dialogue should not mean overlooking unresolved concerns. It has to be measured by what happens on the ground. Does the LAC remain peaceful? Do both sides respect existing understandings, and can military tensions be prevented from returning? And can India and China manage their differences while competing, sometimes intensely, across the Indo-Pacific trade, technology, and the regional influence? Those are the real tests. So tonight's meeting is important. Let's keep our eyes wide open for the BRICS summit as well. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of IYI. Catch you again tomorrow.
लास्ट टाइम कश्मीर गई थी ना, वहाँ खाया शहद, पर उसके लिए कश्मीर जाना पड़ेगा। अरे कश्मीर क्यों जाना, कश्मीर ही यहाँ आ गया।
सुंदर वादियों में महकती खुशबू और रंग बिरंगे फूल, इनमें से शहद निकाल कर जमा किया जाता है असली शहद, लायन कश्मीर हनी।
असली शहद, असली स्वाद।
This is India's #1 news network, and you're watching News9, English news as it should be.
Very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us. You're watching Unmissable, and I'm Sneha Koshi. It's the festive season, from Raksha Bandhan to Onam and so many more festivities, but there's a huge furore. There's a huge furore over Kriti Sanon's advertisement. An advertisement by Jiva, where she's seen tying a Rakhi to two people. One featured as a brother, the other as a pet. There's also a furore with Kangana Ranaut, the BJP MP,